Hi, Peter Boolkah here, and welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guide. Now, today's episode, I want to cover with you the area of HR, human resources. Now, what astounds me is how HR is a very contentious issue. Speaking to business owners in the marketplace, a lot of people say to me, well, I don't need HR. What do I need HR for? HR are very much a department that just gets in the way. I've even heard them as being referred to as procedure and policy Nazis. But the reality is, when we poll businesses out in the marketplace, the number one constraint that's holding businesses back at the moment happens to be people. Because the reality is, in most economies, they're at the sort of peak of the economy where demand is at its highest, yet access to labour, or access to great labour, is at its lowest. And really, when you don't have that right team on board, it does put constraints on the business. So, why do we need HR? Well, people is fundamentally the biggest cost in a business most of the time, especially in a high scale up. Because there comes a point where you just need people, people and people. And I've known businesses that have gone from sort of 150 employees to 400 employees within a year without a really strong HR system in place. And what's happened is they're bringing people on board, they're not getting the best out of their people, and they've probably got 30% dead cost there through inefficiencies, bad training. So where do most clients, well, most clients, I say, it's whether it's clients or businesses really. Where do people struggle? Well, there's 4 areas that businesses tend to struggle when it comes to HR. Number 1 happens to be the whole recruitment process. The reality is entrepreneurs are never trained to recruit. In fact, how do you learn how to recruit? Well, you see people, you interview people, and you have a gut feel, and off you go. Very few businesses out there have a proper system and process. And the reality is, if you're the entrepreneur in the business, you don't really have time to go and develop that HR sort of recruitment arm of your business, because guess what, you're busy. You don't have time as it is. Therefore, it never does get developed, it never gets nailed. And I've got clients on board where very much, and they're a decent sized business, and they get really frustrated because they hire people. They may pay them really well, and then 3 months later they're disappointed that they're not doing what they expect them. No matter how much money you throw at it, money does not compensate for a good recruitment process. You've got to get this piece right. You've got to make sure that they're the right fit for the business. Culturally, from a skill set point of view, we need to know where they're going. Can they actually go on the journey we're going at? That's not an easy process. So that's the first area, it's all around recruitment. Secondly, onboarding. So many businesses I come across, they don't have an onboarding process. Their onboarding process is they'll come in, they get shown a few things, and then off they go. Well, that's ridiculous. You see, unless you tell people what's expected, you actually take time out to show them the rules, show them the pathway, and give them clarity. Do not be surprised when they don't do what you expect, because you never clarified what you expected in the first place. Now you take a company like Disney. Disney actually has a 2-week onboarding process for its people. So no matter what the position is, if you're going to be customer facing, it's 2 weeks onboarding. Now it's not going to be about how you do the job. Their onboarding is all around the culture, the expectations, how we deal with customers, because at the end of the day, when you go to somewhere like Disney, it's meant to be magical. Could you imagine? Well, you probably experienced it from time to time when you've gone somewhere and the person you dealt with has been far from magical. The customer experience has been just pig awful, and it's totally probably jaded your whole sort of how you see that company and whether or not you'll go back to that company. Where if Disney's meant to be the world of happiness and there is unhappiness there, are you ever going to go back? No. And that's why onboarding for them is so crucial. And really onboarding for you is an absolute crucial thing. Again, I appreciate you probably don't know how to do it, and that's where a good professional really comes in handy. Then we've got another area around disciplining. Because you know what, for all the best intention in the world, people are going to screw up. They always do. They're going to make mistakes, they're not going to be on their game, and discipline's a big part of business. But you know what, there's so often in business, discipline isn't consistent, number one, and very often it doesn't happen. Because most businesses tend not to have a discipline process in place. Therefore, they see discipline as being pure confrontation, and you'll be so surprised how many people absolutely hate the thought of confrontation. Therefore, instead of having confrontation and dealing with the issue, guess what you do? You kind of just sweep it under the carpet. The challenge you've got though is that your team are not blind. And if they see something wrong and they see that it's not being dealt with, that kind of sets you up for a fall. So number one, they're not going to be happy, are they? And number two, guess what they're going to do? They're going to think, okay, if that person can get away with it, I can get away with it. And before you know it, you've lost law and order, there's no more peace, it's replaced by anarchy. And the final bit, and probably the most important bit, is about your talent development. Again, how often have we brought people on board, said, okay, great, they can do the job, this is your job, and then we just left them to it. And because they're no hassle really, they're no problem, they're just getting and doing their job, we've kind of said, yeah, they're happy, let's just leave them. Why would you do that? Why would you not say, okay, this is the person, they're coming in at this level, what do I need to do to develop them? What do I need to do to make them great? What do I need to do to make them even more productive than they are? See, I love Jack Welch's model. He said you're far better off having less people that are highly trained, that are 4 times more productive. And there are businesses out there that run this model extremely well. One of the ones that probably are great leaders and great example to everybody in this sort of field happens to be Costco's. You look at Costco's, I mean, their figures speak for themselves. They've got some of the most highly productive people in the marketplace. But why? Because they invest in their people. You see, what most people do is they say, do you know what, I'm not going to develop my people, I'm just going to hire more and more low-skilled people, pay them less, and it'll be okay. It's a false economy. And what happens, especially when you're scaling up your business, if you've got a lot of these people that don't happen to be highly skilled, highly competent, you tend to spend most of your time dealing with poor performance, dealing with challenges, as opposed to building your business. And for this reason, especially if you've got 30, 40, 50 people plus, you've really got to embrace and take on board a whole people element. You've really got to place an emphasis on this HR person to drive your people side. Whether you call it HR, whether you call it people, I don't care. But you need someone that's going to be championing your people, making them great, and getting them productive. Otherwise, it's going to be so costly to your business. You don't want staff hiring staff and then turning them over. If you've got really high staff turnover, that's again counterproductive. That's not allowing you. You don't want people coming on board and not knowing what the rules are. You definitely do not want to be dealing with discipline. You see, I tend to find that if you hire the right person, you get them properly onboarded, and you give them pure direction in terms of what their talent pathway is going to be, discipline tends not to be a problem, because these people are highly motivated, highly inspired, they know where they're going, they're going to take care of themselves. I understand that people is a huge element. It's a massive part of the business. You don't often see the results straight away. It's often seen as a cost. Trust me, get it right. It's not a cost, it's a huge investment. Now, if you can relate to what we discussed in today's episode, and you want to look more at the people element, especially from a HR perspective, and how that would work in your business, or you may have some reservations and you just want to sort of talk it through and sort of have someone to bounce off, head over to Boolkah.com and get in touch. And remember, failing to learn is learning to fail.